What is happening, everybody? So, I wanted to chat with you guys about a topic that's come up a few times, especially with me and some of my friends, and that's, is it better and more satisfying to build an old school muscle car or to buy one of the new muscle cars? And to really have this conversation, I mean, it's really, you have to almost set some ground rules as far as, well, what does satisfying even mean? Because it's so subjective. I mean, what I consider to be a satisfying driving experience might be boring to somebody else, or it might freak somebody out. So, I've got to at least understand that my point of view is really only shared by one other person, and that's me. I mean, or one person, I should say, and that's me. So getting into it, what a lot of guys will say is, well, it's a lot more satisfying to build an old school muscle car. And in that respect, yeah, I can kind of get where they're going with that. I mean, you can take something that may not necessarily be in that great a shape and build it back up to its former glory. And there's a certain romance that comes with that, just the process itself, but there's an even deeper romance just with the fact that it is an older car, nostalgic. People have got either some kind of an emotional connection with them or an actual old physical connection that they're trying to rekindle. And in many cases, when guys are doing a build on an older muscle car, they're not necessarily trying to revive like the memories of their youth. They're trying to revive the dreams of their youth. And those cars are the vessel that those dreams ferry themselves around in. Well, the new muscle cars really don't have that nostalgia behind them, and they don't have the romance behind them yet, at least not the way the old cars do. And especially if you're of a certain age to where you can remember those cars as they were back in their heyday, it's kind of funny. There's an expression, the older I get, the better I was. Well, it's kind of funny that it works the same way with cars too. I mean, the longer period of time that passes between when that muscle car era ended, as time has progressed, isn't it kind of funny how those cars have gotten a little bit faster? They stopped a little bit better. It's funny that when you remove the benefit of and the cloud of that ether that separates fact from reality, let's face it, the older muscle cars, even if they're updated with modern fuel injection and four-wheel disc brakes, if you can afford to do that to the car, they're still not going to perform to the standards of a modern car. Braking, handling, fuel mileage, they'll match them in acceleration, but what about drivability and long-term drivability? Not just short-term, take the thing on a cruise or take it to the drag strip and have some fun with it. I'm saying take the thing on a road trip. See, with the older cars, there's some concessions that you would have to make, and they're concessions that I just wasn't ready to make for myself at the time. Namely, if I were to build an old school muscle car, one of the expenses would be to put a new school type of a transmission in the thing. Mainly because I like going on road trips. Chally and I have been on quite a few already. And it's one of those things where I can hop into the car, press the button, it lights off, and away we go. Not necessarily that way with an old school muscle car. So again, the expense to bring that car up to at least a performance level that is somewhat similar to a modern car can get real pricey. And that's something that a lot of guys, it's one of those things you might not necessarily want to admit when you're getting into building one of those old school muscle cars. But then even afterwards, when that build is complete and you're living with it, at least on a daily basis in that respect. Taking that car on a road trip, if it's geared for the drag strip or for cruise night, stoplight, hoonigans, those type of shenanigans are great and fun, but they don't lend themselves very well to highway driving. It's not too fun to have your freshly built big block humming along at 3,500 RPM while you're cruising down the highway. Or if you've neutered it to the point where it would cruise on the highway at a fairly respectable RPM, say 22, 2,500, that car is going to be a bit of a slouch off the line, which is really why you built the car to begin with, was to experience that acceleration, to try to relive the myth or the legend of the car that you're working with. This is one of those situations where sometimes it's better to not meet your hero. Yeah, have you ever experienced that? You meet that football player or that soccer player, baseball player, whatever the case might be, and you've got these, you've looked up to this person since you were a kid. You finally get to meet him, and that person's a real asshole. Anyway, that's kind of what a lot of guys will experience, at least on a certain level. That value of disappointment, should I say, when you're building an old school muscle car. The new school stuff, well, it doesn't have the benefit of years behind it to give it nostalgia. Although you would think that with the engineering to at least try to revive some of that nostalgia with the look of the Mustang or the Challenger, with that retro look and just the sound with those newer style stock exhausts really giving it a good rumble. Yeah, that's cool, but you don't have the benefit of the time between this car being around and then being separated from it and only having the good memories to hold on to while somehow or another, or at least conveniently, forgetting the things that make them a pain in the ass, which again, old school muscle car enthusiasts have a tendency to foster a little bit, if I'm being honest. Now, would I ever do an old school build? Well, shit, yeah, I'd do an old school build in a heartbeat. I mean, I could rattle off 5 cars off the top of my head that I would love to do. The problem is that to do them right, even dollar for dollar for what you would spend on a new SRT Challenger or like a 1LE Camaro, to do them right, you could end up eclipsing that number. And then where are you? I mean, we're talking you would have to go new school transmission, new school brakes, possibly a new style fuel injection. But at that point, you almost should have just bought the newer car. Part of the nostalgia of owning one of those old cars is living with the quirks that they have. Yeah, they're hard to start. Yeah, they don't really stop that well. Yes, they're fast in a straight line, but they don't handle for shit. At least not in modern, the way you would consider a modern car to handle well. So, in saying all of that, I'd love to get your thoughts on this topic. For myself, at this point in my life, I haven't really tipped over the edge to where I'd want to do an old school build, especially considering that I would want it to perform at least somewhat as well as what a modern car would perform at. And that includes good gas mileage, street ability, highway drivability. All of those do matter to me. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think it's worth it to do an old school build, or do you think that maybe those old school builds should be left to those that can appreciate them better than those of us that don't? Post up your comments. Let me know what you think. That's a wrap. Adios.